Well, hello again, and welcome to another Mac Plays. This time I'm doing a speedrun of a fairly obscure game called Pizza Pop, developed by Arc System Works and published by Jaleco. Released in Japan exclusively on the Famicom on January the 7th, 1992, so a fairly late game in terms of the NES lifespan. And as with most of the speedruns that I'm posting on my channel around about this time, this was a game that I only learned of through taking part in the Big 20 NES Speedrun Marathon. This was number 4 on the list, and it's quite a cute little, quaint platformer, Pizza Pop. I really did end up quite enjoying this. Things to say, I mean, you basically play, as you can see from the intro sequence there, the part of a pizza delivery boy who wants to earn enough money to buy his sweetheart a diamond ring. So, yeah, it's I suppose a platformer game. Fairly slow paced. The one thing about this game that really stuck out, sort of learning it initially, was how awkward your hitbox is on your pizza attack. It doesn't feel great the way it slows you down, especially in midair. It took a bit of getting used to, and you can see even here I'm struggling hitting some of these cats out there. Now, being down to 1 heart for this first boss battle is not ideal. You have to knock 6 cats out the air, and it's especially risky to hit those ones that are falling from the top first time. But I felt well practiced enough that I managed to do it even with the 1 heart remaining. Pizza Pop's a difficult game to speedrun in the sense that any lives you lose are very damaging. They'll send you right back to the start of the level. And so it's not a game that you want to take damage in, particularly if you can help it. I did watch, I think the guy who actually organised part of the organisation of the Big 20, Apollo, I think he's actually got the world record for this, which was, it was about 9 minutes 38 seconds, something like that, if I remember properly. Now, this boss coming up seems a bit out of place for attacking a guy who's just out there delivering pizzas. Seems like some kind of mafioso mob boss kind of guy. But as with most of the bosses in Pizza Pop, I did struggle with them initially when I was just sort of first trying to learn the game by myself. And then when it turned out when watching videos that sort of each of them has like a fairly reliable kind of method that you can get the result with them. And for this guy, it just involves jumping up in the air so that you don't get stunned by his butt slamming at the ground. Jumping again just for timing purposes, and then jumping on his head as he throws his hat at you. And that one turned out to be one of the easier bosses, actually, I found by the time I got to this stage. These kind of auto-scrolling, well, not really auto-scrolling would be the word to use, but let's say vehicular sections, I struggled with a lot, especially at first. I sort of developed a bit of a technique later on where if you just hug either the very top or very bottom of the screen and sort of try and time the jump so you're jumping just as the barrier's hitting the ground, it seemed quite manageable to be able to get through most of them, and you see that's actually how I get through large parts of this level here. So this section I always seem to get hit. It seems very difficult to get through here without taking that extra point of damage, but it doesn't really matter because unusually, like, there's no real boss for this level on Pizza Pop. It's more of a sort of automated turret thing. There is an extra heart in that balloon that I just passed by, but as I learned about some of the hearts in the placement for the level design in this game, you just don't really need them. I mean, there's a heart it's given you right before a boss, which is entirely based around movement, and if you die, it's going to be from falling down the conveyor belt and just instantly losing. So the main thing from doing a run for this was just don't die. I mean, you can get hit, you'll lose a second or two, but any kind of death would be completely punishing. And I can't actually remember if I get through this all without dying. I think I might have a death at the start of one level that I just continue on with. But either way, it's not ideal. These little sections here are, certainly when you're speedrunning the game, were not the most engrossing part, since you just have to kind of either sit there and skip through it, or, as I did here, make an attempt to collect all the pizzas and chuck them in the oven. Either way, it wasn't the highlight of the run, that has to be said. Excuse me folks, just taking a little sip of Iron Brew there. So yeah, for the most part, especially on race day, I just kind of ran off to the side and took an opportunity to just sort of breathe, collect my thoughts, and maybe take a drink of juice. Didn't have my official splits up for the live split for Pizza Pop here. I just sort of put the generic timer on there, which is a bit of a shame. I did have splits set up for each of the, I think there's 7 individual levels that you go through. But either way, I'm pretty sure that the time I post on this run here is better than the one I had on my splits. And I lose a lot of time here. I found these little crane sections particularly awkward. Especially having to utilise that kind of foreman guy to jump on his head. Now I do opt to pick up the insurance heart there, funnily enough. I would often skip past it because the boss that's coming up, although I struggled with him hugely when first playing the game, he is actually reasonably manageable if you take your time, so I'm not sure why I decided to go for that heart there. Maybe just thinking that I could try and batter past these enemies a little quicker by attacking them, and then, you know, by having the heart, that gives you that chance where if you miss, you take the damage. It's not so much of a disaster. But I think I actually maybe rushed things a bit, if I remember properly, in this boss, and become very thankful that I decided to go for that heart. Now this guy, when I first played him, I struggled. I had no idea what I was doing wrong. Turns out that you can just run up to him, and although it looks like he's going to whack you with his shovel, he never really does. He only really damages you when he's in his tornado form, and that gives you a chance to whip away with your... I mean, it kind of looks like a pizza when you're carrying it, but it looks like a pizza box when you're not. I'm just jumping in between the platforms in the middle there, because if you don't, sometimes you'll reach the other end and then not come out of his tornado form, which is obviously a devastator if you're trying to do it quickly. Yeah, it's a fairly sprite game, this Pizza Pop. Like I say, the world record by Apollo's in something like 9 minutes. Now, I think if I remember properly, I die at the start of this level, and just think, oh well, I'm just right at the start, I'm not going to lose too much. Was I right? I had a feeling I died here. It might have just been another one of the times that I ran it. Certainly I'm far enough through at this point where I would just probably quit the whole run and restart. Jumping up and getting that key served as a source of frustration. It's been a while since I mucked up that jump while playing Pizza Pop, but at first, yeah, I really struggled to get that key first time, and then, you know, you lose a lot of time having to go back on yourself and make them respawn. Similarly, it took me a lot of time to get used to that jump there, where the heart was in the middle. I'd often completely missed it. I didn't actually know there was an extra heart available there. Probably took an extra second or two delay there, just waiting for the pumpkin to go into position, but no point. I mean, you can see there the way the damage works here. It's very difficult to get like a meaningful damage boost in Pizza Pop. There was a couple of sections I saw Apollo do it in the section on level 2 where the green barrels are being chucked at you. I accidentally hit the count in midair. I don't think I'd ever done that. And you can either jump on this guy's head, or you can kind of stand very close to the spot he's landing and then turn and whip him. I didn't find either method particularly reliable, although I suppose I found the whipping him quicker, as long as you could stand properly. And the problem was, as soon as he blasts you to the left or right once, it throws you off course the whole time. But luckily, he just needed one more hit there as I recentered myself, and a fairly quick kill on him. If I remember, I don't know if I would love to know what this witch lady's telling you. As far as I'm aware, she doesn't appear at any other point in the game, just in the cutscenes here. Ah, now I think this might be the level where I die very quickly. This is the one where I felt I could gain a lot of time, having watched the way that speedrunners will just run through and just literally not stop. And I struggled with that, especially with those fish. You always kind of wanted to bait the fish out for a second time before you jumped on them, but that obviously costs time. Here we get our second vehicle sequence. This time on a jet ski, with fish jumping at you instead of someone, unknown who, throwing barriers at you from the side. For some reason I found this section a little bit easier than the bike section from earlier. Spoke a bit too soon there. I think I struggled with it in this specific run, and I was left, I think, with only one heart going into the boss, which is certainly not an ideal situation to be in. This boss was the one that probably gave me the most trouble of all of them. when just playing through the speedrun portion of the game blind. I say speedrun portion of the game, I mean it is the full game that you beat here for the Big 20. It's not a very long game, Pizza Pop. But once you sort of know the method of how to bounce on this guy's head and avoid the puppies that get thrown at you, it actually turns out to be pretty manageable. And I was quite clutch there to get through that with just the 1 heart remaining, as that would obviously send you right back to the section on the bridge. And here we have our second Pizza Pop's pizza collection section, I suppose, for lack of a better term. I love how there's a calendar on the wall in the background that just says pizza. And those are either very small pizzas or a very large oven. Either way, yeah, as in terms of a speedrun, this is just a good killer, but I suppose it was a good chance, especially during the actual, what ended up being a 4-hour run, to maybe just breathe for a second and you know, take a sip of water. Maybe grab a bite of a Yorkie bar, which I think I did at one point during the Big 20. There was a little bit of debate on the Discord whether, for speed purposes, you should pick up no pizzas or all pizzas, because of the frame count at the end. But in the end, it just turned out to be however you felt in the moment. That balloon we're passing up there has a heart in it. I was feeling cocky here, and I thought, comfortable enough taking on this final boss with only the 2 hearts. It's not that difficult, a final boss, to be fair. As long as you know how to avoid the damage. Probably one of the easier ones. Well, maybe that's overstating things. So, despite only going in here with 2 hearts, lost a second there as well, not quite walking straight into the door. So here we have our final boss fight, and this guy... There are quick ways to beat this guy, where you knock down some of the objects that fall from the ceiling at one point. But that's a very difficult technique to do. I could occasionally get 1 hit off. As you can see, I took 1 hit from the falling item there, and that leaves me just on the 1 heart there. So I was slightly nervous here as the head was bouncing towards me. I used to attempt to jump over that, but I found much more success running underneath. And we should only need 3 more hits here, so we'll get the chance to deflect 2 more gloves back at him. Would have ended the fight there if we had got the extra fight off, or the extra ceiling shot off. But luckily we get the chance here to just jump on this one, send it back. For some reason it gives us the final heart, even though we've just defeated the final boss. And that'll be Pizza Pop. Time didn't officially stop until the screen transition here, just as it moves across. Yeah, so 12 minutes 25 seconds, that's just under 3 minutes slower than Apollo's time. So obviously a lot of time to be gained with Pizza Pop, although it's not one of these games you look at and go, well, there's obvious ways to do that. Maybe quicker kills on the bosses, certainly, that would be the main thing. But and you'll see that we get chucked a bouquet of, well, what looks like tomatoes by the antagonist, who's been making our life difficult throughout the game. So yeah, that's been Pizza Pop. Fun little game to play for the Big 20. Fun little game to speedrun. And not too difficult and nice and short. Like I say, like if you know what you're doing, it's probably quite doable to beat that game in under 10 minutes, I suppose. I imagine that would take a lot of grinding. But yeah, I had a lot of fun playing Pizza Pop. One of those ones that you would have never heard about with it being a Japan-only exclusive and so on. And yeah, that'll do for that. Thanks for watching. That's been Mac playing Pizza Pop. And yeah, I'll be posting more retro video game videos over on my YouTube and live on my Twitch. So thanks for watching, and until next time.